It's Farrell and Murphy. Murphy, your head fits through, but I don't know if Farrell's does. Oh, Murphy, mine don't get stuck. Come on, let's go in. Hello and welcome to Murphy's garden. Only it's not Murphy's garden, is it, Murphy? It's Farrell's garden, and this is Farrell. And Farrell is my mum's quite new dog. They've only had him about a month, and he is a sign support dog. So Farrell is going to show us around. This is my mum and dad's garden, and we're just down visiting for Easter, so I thought it'd be a nice opportunity to do a tour of their garden. And Murphy and Farrell are getting on very well, aren't they? So we'll go and have a look around the garden, and Farrell will show us where he likes to play. We moved into this house and garden in 1984 as a family, and the garden at the time had been planted out by the previous owner. Previous owner loved the garden at the time of Bressingham, which was Alan Bloom and Adrian Bloom. Alan Bloom at the time was quite revolutionary at coming up with the idea of planting in island beds, and the chap who had this house and garden used Bressingham as inspiration for this garden, so he used island bed planting. He planted a lot of conifers, which recently have been quite out of fashion, but I think they're definitely due for a revival. So a lot of the plants you see here, a lot of the trees were put in a bit like furniture, and they weren't really allowed to grow. So the trouble that my parents have had during the time that they've been here is that a lot of the trees have got too big for the space, and they were competing for light, and as a result they've had to remove some of the conifers, which has been quite a shame. So it is really important, and what I've tried to do planting out our tree area is to really look at the ultimate height of plants and make sure that I'm allowing enough room, learning the lessons from this garden, because it's nothing worse than taking out lovely trees just because they haven't got enough room. So in this area, one of the trees, conifer trees, had to come out, and in its place they've actually planted a deciduous tree, and this is a beautiful yellow-leaved tree. This is Gladitsia tricanthos. It's quite late at coming into leaf. There's another tree that has beautiful yellow leaves, and that's Robinia frisia. But Robinia frisia is a little bit more prone to diseases, whereas this one is a little bit more disease resistant. However, the downside of it is that it is quite late coming into leaf. And I remember a couple of Chelseas back, there was a Gladitsia in the garden, and it hadn't come into leaf in time in May. That was a May time, and there was a little bit of criticism at the time because they used a tree that wasn't in leaf, but it's a beautiful, beautiful tree, really, really lovely. And here you'll see an acer. So we've got a few acers, another one over there, lots of heather, and as I say, these island beds. My mum and dad are of an age now where they want to try and keep the garden as low maintenance as possible. So my mum's used like a lot of, these are euonymus, which she's cut into balls. Over here we've got the Lonicera. So she hasn't used box at all. She's used these as these punctuating plants. So we've got this is Lonicera, which, as you'll see, has made this really large mound. Looks a bit like box, so another good alternative to box planting. And this is a weeping silver birch, which they've just cut off some of the branches so that they've made this lovely little hidden seating area underneath the branches, and that looks really, really lovely. So the garden is split into kind of three main sections. So in this section we've got, it's mostly grass and beds. We've got lots of grass, probably a lot more grass than we have in our garden. But this first part is made up of trees. It's divided up with this central island bed here. So we'll head now into the next part, but before we do, we'll just have a look at the pond. So the other thing to mention is that the garden has got a lot of hedges and a lot of structure, and my mum and dad get help from very fantastic gardener and friend Stuart, who comes every 2 weeks and helps them with all the things as they're getting older, keeps the garden looking in tip-top condition. So worth just saying a big thank you to Stuart for all his help over the years. This is a large rockery here at the back and a very large pond. When the kids were little, there was always a fear of them falling in the pond, so they put this fence up just to keep the children from falling in. I remember at the time when Murphy was a puppy, the first time he came to this garden, he was so tiny, it's hard to imagine now, but he just went straight through in between the two bars and fell straight in the pond. And it was January and he was freezing. We had to drag him out and wrap him up. And keep him out and get him out of the water quick before he froze. We've got lots of fish in here, and Farrell, who's quite new to this garden, haven't had him that long, just about a month. Farrell's quite fascinated by the fish and he sticks his head in there and just watches them. So we'll head now through the arch. Come on, Farrell. So this is a moon arch, quite reminiscent of a garden we saw. It was the Bridgerton garden we saw at Chelsea last year, and they featured a moon arch just like this, and they had wisteria growing up, at which my mum and dad have got as well. So we come through the moon arch and it opens up into this big vista. So this part of the garden is mostly grass, lots of grass, and it's a good place to play ball, isn't it, Farrell? Which Farrell will testify to. We've got lots of seating, depending on where the sun is. We've got a swing seat here, we've got another swing seat, and another two seats there as well. So my mum and dad really do like to enjoy the garden and come and sit outside in the evening and all times of the day. We've got lots of very large mature conifer trees. I couldn't tell you all the names because I'm not very good on conifers really. At the back here you'll see this lovely red robin or photinia, and you'll see at this time of year it's got the bright red leaves that appear, and this is one of the ones we mentioned on the hedging video, so you can see how lovely that is and what a beautiful hedge it makes, particularly at this time of year. What you can also do, which I think would be quite nice to do with this one, is to strip out a lot of the lower branches, and then you'll get that architectural look of the lower branches, and just take out some of those. I think that would look nice, but it is getting quite big. It really likes it here. It hasn't been in that long, so we'll head further up. So this border is my mum's herbaceous border, although she says it's now just a case of survival of the fittest. She just likes plants that do well. She's trying to keep the garden as low maintenance as possible as they get older. We've got a lot of self-seeded forget-me-nots, geraniums, nepeta, euphorbia, all things like that. And then in the summer we've got a few more herbaceous things that come through. They've put more of the photinia at the back just to screen from the neighbours. And this bed's looking nice in spring, so the heathers are out, all the daffodils and narcissi are out, more euonymus and more conifers, lovely little yew, Irish yew I think there. And speaking of yews, I just want to show you this. We did a video here in this garden a couple of years ago, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and I showed you this tree. So this is a good example of how yew regenerates. So there was a big conifer next to this yew tree, and because of that the yew tree was completely dead on one side, and the conifer was dead on one side, so they chose to remove the conifer, because once a conifer is dead on one side it won't come back, whereas yew will. So they took out the conifer, and you'll see how, look, that's a really good example of how yew can regenerate from old wood. So it's completely dead, but now it's all come back, little new sprouts all along this what looked like dead branch. So worth knowing, if you've got an old yew hedge, it really can regenerate from old wood, so don't give up on it. Instead, cut it back about a third each year until you get that regenerative growth. Now we're heading to, we've done 2 parts of the garden, and then the final part is just up here. This is my mum and dad's, it's just an orchard. So we've got a few very old apple trees, which are still quite productive, I think. We thought the Herbaceous that we've removed from our garden would work quite nicely in this area underneath the tree. So we'll go in and have a look. So this area in its day when it was first planted out was quite a bright area, so much so that the greenhouse is sited here, but as the trees have got more mature it's become quite a dark part of the garden, so they don't really use the greenhouse anymore. I don't think they want to grow tomatoes and things anymore. But here we've got the apple trees. We've got 2 apple trees. As I say, they're very old, but they do still produce quite a lot of apples. We've got a clump of rhubarb here, and then the all-important compost heap at the back. So we'll go and I'll get my dad to show you the compost spinner, because the compost spinner I bought for him a few years ago because he was using a sieve, manually sieving all the compost. And he's got the compost in here that he sieves. It's in this bin. And that's the compost. So he was sieving all that manually, which obviously was taking quite a lot of effort. So I bought him a little manual siever. So I'll go and get him and he can demonstrate that. So I know how we're all interested in compost, and we've looked at our big soil sifter, but if you don't want to go that big and you're doing it on a more domestic scale, this is my dad's compost heap. So he's got 3 compartments, fresh stuff, then it's turned into here and then into here. So this is the stuff that's ready. Oh, and then into here when it's sieved. Yeah, that's when it's been sieved. It goes into the bin. And so this is the machine that I got him, when, a couple of years ago? So it's a Delonda rotary garden sieve. I think I just got it off Amazon. That's very effective, isn't it? It beats using a sieve, doesn't it? Yeah, that's very good. Oh, that's lovely.
So that's actually, obviously that's very, very fine. That's what's left over from last
And
year.
what will you do with that? Just put it
Well, normally then I would put it
back
there
into
and then
2 again,
back
yeah.
in.
Yeah, that's very nice. It's always good to see the engine room, isn't it? My dad is a engineer, so he likes the engine room. That must be where I get it from, I think. Working in the engine room of the garden. And then we head back out of the orchard and into the garden. And just more mature trees on this side, but it's been a lovely garden. It's probably, I think it's about 1/3 of an acre in total. But as I say, it feels very secluded, it feels very private. There's neighbours all around about, but with the maturity of this garden, you just feel like it's a nice sanctuary away from everything. It's lovely. And I think Farrell is definitely enjoying his new garden, and we love him. He's a darling little dog. He's so good, but also likes a good time too. So really good fun to play with. And Murphy and him have got on like a house on fire. It's been really, really lovely weekend. So thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed that brief tour, and see you in the next video. Bye for now.